being approximately 7:30 PM, the Franklin Zoning Board of Appeals will come to order. This meeting is being recorded and televised. The listing of those matters are reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for the discussion to the extent permitted by law.
Recording in progress.
This meeting will be held via the Zoom platform. You can log in at zoom.us/J/990753165575. You may also join the meeting on your smartphone by calling 1-929-205-6099. For those looking to view the meeting, it can be viewed live at this time on Comcast 29, or on Comcast 9 or Verizon 29. It is also streaming directly from Franklin TV's website. Visit franklin.tv and just click on the Town Hall TV channel. Time being approximately 7:30.
Our first agenda topic is 50 Woodview Way, the Sign Center, Jamie Cody. Applicant is seeking to install 21 double-sided banners. The building permit is denied without a variance from the ZBA.
Anybody here for the applicant, the Sign Center, Jamie Cody? Whether online or in person?
Looks like online.
They are?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
Please identify yourself for the record.
Jamie Cody for the Sign Center.
Okay, it's incumbent upon you to tell us what you want to do.
So we are hoping to install 21 double-sided vinyl banners. They're about 5.5 square feet each. They are throughout the main drag of the campus, and a few of them are visible from the street. And we're just hoping that we can get a variance and go from there.
What is the real purpose of them? I mean, the place is already there, you got a nice big sign out front already. Why do you need these particular signs attached to some light poles or whatever? They're not directional signs, or what I can see, but.
So the entranceway is a little not symmetrical because there is a historical structure on the right. So we're just trying to create an entrance via, adding a few more signs on that side.
Okay. Before I open it up to the board, the building commissioner has graced us with his presence tonight. Can you explain, Gus, why they're here? I mean, to me, they're just like a directional sign or a sign inside. I don't know how they come under signs. Oh, I saw them, they look nice.
Gus Brown, Building Commissioner, through you, Mr. Chairman. I don't believe they are all directional signs.
Well, I don't think they're directional. They got some things up there, no arrows or anything else like
Right.
that, so.
Right.
And all they say is the business name, and they own the property, and they're not out on the street. Maybe there's one or two of them that are close to the street.
It's been our history to send them when they're over the square footage, so that's why they're here.
Okay, you mean with the total amount of signs they're putting up?
That's correct.
Okay. I thought originally when I saw this, it was gonna be like the flags they put in, come buy your cell phone here, or hot dogs or something on the side of the street. But I guess that's not the case, but anyway. All right, I'll open it up to the board if anybody's got any questions. Megan, any questions?
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
Joe, any questions?
I don't see any problem with it. It's internally, it's off Route 140. I just don't see anything in here that says they went through the design review. But I mean, if we do approve it, I'd like to have them go to the design for the colors and the wording. Is that necessary?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to answer your question, they will have to go through design review. And they did approach design review, I think, in the very beginning, if I'm thinking back correctly, Jamie?
Still there, Jamie? She figured her job was done. See you later. She's waving. Somebody's waving.
Hi, can you hear me
There you go,
now?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Okay. So, yes, we did go to design review, and they did like the appearance of them. They just weren't sure about the bylaw for the banners. And so when they looked into the code, it does prohibit banners, but they said that if we went for a variance, that they would be okay with it.
But you didn't get anything from them, because that's the only thing they have actual control over is signs. I wouldn't want to cut them out of the loop.
Through the chair. These are actually hard signs, they're not banners, they don't float with the
No, no, I know that, but still, it's a sign. And if they're here, Gus has considered them a sign because of the square footage, so if they got square footage, they should have gone to the design review for a yay or a nay.
It's what comes first, because they can get approval from design review, and they cannot get approval from ZBA.
Well,
So
that's
they
like,
gotta know they at least have the right to get a sign before they design a color.
go ahead, Gus.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, what happens sometimes is I don't even find out until they come before me for a variance, that they've already been to design review. It does happen.
Yeah,
And
I'm
I
sure it
believe
does.
the chairman and Maxine, chairman of design review and Maxine vetted this out. What comes first, the chicken or the egg sometimes on this one is...
Well, I mean, a prudent person would probably come here first before they went to the design review.
If I could control that every time, I would do my best, but it doesn't always happen that way,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay,
And just one last thing, they are utilizing existing poles, so
Yeah.
they're not putting up new signage, basically.
yeah, they're not waving banners.
And I've seen those things around in towns, inside the streets for veterans and different things, they put those on the flag poles, I remember that.
She'll let Gus know every time we do it.
That's it, I'm all set.
Janelle?
Yeah, I think they're fine. It doesn't look like they're going to impact lighting hitting the street or anything. It doesn't look like they're going to impact sight lines from public services or first responders or anything like that. I think they're fine.
Archie?
Curious, what's the height of these signs going to be?
They got it.
They don't have a
The
height.
signs themselves are,
I know
22
the
by
sign
7.
itself is 36 by 21, but how high off the ground are they going to be?
The height above grade is 135 inches.
so it's high enough that nobody's gonna be able to hang on them and hit the head on.
Correct.
Okay.
And what did we, I know we discussed it, but what did we determine needed to happen? Do they need to go back to the design review?
We could approve it conditional upon them getting a design review, okay. 6 of one and a half a dozen the other. They're already here, they're already, you know.
Yeah, fine. I just don't know how to word it.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I don't have any questions now that I saw the drawings and everything else, that everything looks fine to me. Just when I first heard about it, I said, geez, they just bought the place, and the place is pretty full. I don't know why they gotta put signs up advertising for rent, but I guess they're not for rent, it's just like a little directional thing or something. But do you have something else you wanted to add, Mr. Building Commissioner? Okay, I see you sitting there all hunched up, ready to go. All right, Jamie, anything else you want to add before we close the public hearing?
No, just we did go before design review, and then they did like the banners, just knew that the banners were prohibited, so they are the ones that told us to go for a variance.
Okay, so now that if you get that tonight, you're going to have to go to them, you understand that, right?
Yep.
Okay. With all that being said, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved?
Second it?
Motion made and seconded, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, none. Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the variance for 50 Woodview Way to allow the sign setter, Jamie Cody, to install 21 36-inch by 21-inch double-sided light post banners located at 50 Woodview Way throughout the premise as shown on the drawing entitled Banner Locations. Banners are to be 135 inches above grade as shown on photo that has been submitted with the packet. And the Sign Center must go and get approval from the design review, Franklin Design Review,
Prior to installation.
prior to installation.
Jamie, are these all light poles, or is it just different poles? He said light poles, I want to make sure that we're not hemming
Yep,
up. Pardon?
they're all light posts.
They're all light poles, okay.
They are all light posts,
Right.
yep.
Thank you. Motion made,
Thank you.
Seconded.
motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, none. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Time being approximately 7, whatever time it's supposed to be. 7:35.
Next item on the agenda is 28 Queen Street, Samuel Williams. Applicant is seeking to construct a porch extension that is 22.1 feet from the yard setback where 30 feet is required. The building permit is denied without a variance from the ZBA.
Do I, here?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't know how they do it at design review.
We Zoom.
Oh, that's right, too. The other elected ones.
So I'm Sam Williams, I live at 28 Queen Street. I am the owner, and I am the architect who designed the project. We are doing a renovation of our house, and part of our existing porch is being removed, and we'd like to rebuild a porch that is 4 feet closer to the front yard setback. I believe that our porch will improve the character of the neighborhood and obviously our house. It'll improve accessibility at the front door, help us with water management. It's even with the extension to the porch, we're no closer to the street than most of the other houses on our street. And our lot existed in nonconformity, as do most of the houses in the neighborhood, and it is no more nonconforming than most of the other houses in the neighborhood. So that is my piece.
That's your presentation?
Yeah. You have the rendering in the plot plans?
Yeah, there's usually supporting statement for a variance. Somebody filled it out.
Oh, yeah. I believe you have it, right?
It's up to you to tell us.
Oh, okay. Just read it.
Our astute secretary will give you a
Ah,
copy.
there we go. Yeah, so our house exists in nonconformity as it existed before most of the zoning bylaws were put in place, and it can only be brought into conformity if we rebuilt or moved the existing house. So obviously, any addition that we make or many additions that we would make make that worse. So that is why we are pursuing a variance. In terms of hardship, obviously, we can only build in one direction for a front porch. So it's going forward into that front yard setback. So.
Section C.
Section C.
Desirable.
Oh, yeah. I don't feel that there would be a detriment to the neighborhood because other homes on our street are closer to the front property line than ours, even with the extended porch. And I did a little informal measuring. Obviously, this isn't based on a survey, but you can see that after our extension of 4 feet, our house will be about 29.5 feet from the curb at the street, and every single other house is closer than that. I did not include number 8, but that is, it's also closer than ours is. And then, as I said before, we live in a neighborhood that was established before current zoning bylaws, where many homes exist in a similar level of nonconformity. So we don't feel that our addition is taking away from the neighborhood in any way. And in fact, we feel that by putting the front porch on, it will look more similar to some of the other houses on the street, so it'll help the character of the neighborhood.
Is that it? There's a couple of drawings or a couple of renderings of two different houses with two different porches on them. They're both-
Yeah.
They're all deeper than 4 feet, but,
Yeah, so the top version is if we add the 4-foot porch on the front, and the bottom version is if we sort of keep what remains of the existing porch after demolition, so.
well, one of them shows a bump out. You add living space there?
What's that? Excuse
One of
me?
them shows a bump out?
That's existing,
It's existing.
This is existing here now?
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that little like sort of box window, bay window in front, that exists, yeah.
Okay, now on your measurements you got over here, you say you're gonna be proposed 29.5 feet away.
So
On the drawing,
that's
it shows-
that's my informal measurement that goes from our porch to the curb. But on the, you can see on the plot plan, we're actually,
The plot plan shows 22.1 feet.
yeah. And I know, I don't have plot plans for the other houses in the neighborhood, obviously, but I was able to get a plot plan for one of my neighbor's houses directly across the street, and their house is 19.1 feet from the curb. And that's a similar, all the other houses on that side of the street are similar. And then, like visually, if you look from my porch down the road, you can see that all the other houses are forward of our house. No, that doesn't.
Did the town do any takings in the neighborhood when they redid the road?
I'm not sure, what, like, did they
Didn't they
measure?
repave the road, put sidewalks in it?
Yeah.
Did they take any land from anybody? Or in their layout?
I don't think so. I think the sidewalk is beyond my property, and I think it, when I looked at the plot plan for across the street, the sidewalk is right in line with their front yard property line.
Okay. Sure 4 feet's enough?
Yeah, we're comfortable with it.
Can't
There's-
can't even put a chair there and sit there and nobody can
So
walk by.
there's, the existing front porch is code compliant, it's 3 feet, so we'll have 7 total, so we'll have enough room there, I think.
Okay. Did you construct any of this yet? I thought I went by there a while ago. I thought I saw a fountain.
So the parts that we do not need a variance for are under construction already. So this is like, if we were not to not get the variance, we would just build as shown on the bottom rendering. And then if we do get the variance, it'll be as the top rendering shows.
Okay, we're in receipt of a couple of letters. My name is Nancy Rapper. I live at 25 Queen Street in Franklin, directly across the street from Sam and Jen Williams and their family. I received a card from from the appeals board about Williams' wish to construct a porch extension, which is not within the 30-foot requirement. As an abutter, I wish to inform you and your board that I have no objections to their request for a variance, as they are wonderful neighbors and they are in the middle of constructing a beautiful addition to the home so that they can remain in the neighborhood. Hopefully I can attend the meeting on July 17th. Oh, I shouldn't have read that. Is she in the room? Nancy Rapper? No. Probably a good thing I read. Barbara Sullivan in the room? That's a letter from Barbara, not Sullivan, I'm sorry. Ginnivan? As I would be out of town and unable to attend the ZBA meeting on July 17th, I am writing, which moved to July 31st. I am writing to state my strong support for the request for the variance submitted by Sam Williams and to construct a porch extension that is 22.1 feet from the yard setback where 30 is required. Ann and Robert Arpin? Nobody's here. We are writing to indicate our strong support of the request for a variance submitted by Samuel Williams to construct a porch extension that is 22.1 feet from the yard setback where 30 feet is required. We feel this request is more than reasonable and will enhance rather than detract from the overall appearance of the home in our non-conforming neighborhood. In addition, we understand that this extension will also improve the handicap accessibility for their home. We sincerely hope this request will be granted. Thank you for your consideration. Signed by Ann Hoppin and Robert Hoppin. Unfortunately, these letters aren't carbon copies of each other, so we know. When they say something about handicap accessibility, somebody in your family needs handicap accessibility.
My sister-in-law is mobility impaired, so she can navigate stairs herself, but she sometimes needs help, so.
Okay. All right, I'll open up the board. Megan, any questions?
No questions, but to make a comment, I think the porch looks really nice.
Okay. Joe?
Yeah, just a couple. Could be important, could not. So the back of the sidewalk is actually the property line?
Not
Because
for,
I'm reading the deed here, and it's saying it's 172 feet on one side, but you get 187. I don't understand that.
nor do I. I would say, so when I look in my yard, you can see on the left side where it says CBDH, there's a stone there, and so that's what I assume our property line is, and that's about a foot back from the sidewalk.
But if you do look at your deed, it says 172 feet the length of that property line, and it's down here as 187, so I don't think it really affects this, because you're not gonna change the road, but there is a discrepancy in the deed versus what you have on the site.
I did not notice that, obviously.
I think it's a great addition, I like it. I would vote for it with the stipulation that you definitely put those two garage doors on, I like those. They definitely, the garage doors really enhance the front of the house. That really complements what you're putting in the front.
Thank you.
I like it, thank you.
Janelle?
Thank you. Is there anybody else here in attendance or on Zoom that would speak
No,
out?
we're going to get to that
Oh,
after the board.
okay.
Unless you want to listen to them first. Up to you.
No, I thought you were asking for people because of the,
No, no,
oh,
no, no. Well, they came up, so I wanted to read it into the record before. we
Got
went
it.
further.
No, I much prefer it with the porch. It's really great scale. Looks nice. Makes the home more handicap accessible. And even the due diligence with checking the other porches and setbacks on the street, it makes sense to me.
Okay. All set?
Yep.
Archie?
So, I Googled the house and looked at the views.
Mm-hmm.
You had, I'm only assuming that you had, because you said you already started construction, but you had this beautiful wraparound porch
Yeah,
on the home. You had your 4 feet of porch there.
yep.
It seems to me that you created your own hardship by removing that porch and putting the addition on.
Where else would we have put a garage?
Detached?
Yeah, can be detached.
Which,
Oh, but you got a room over it, right?
yeah.
Could have put it out the back.
So, historically, front yard setbacks are something that we kind of frown upon in DPW. I don't feel that you've done enough here. You've taken away your porch on the side. You're looking to add 4 feet and encroach more on the front yard setback. I don't care so much about carrying it over to the right as I do as it encroaching on the front yard. So I'm not sure that I want to approve this. You had a beautiful porch on there, and it's no longer there. Now you're coming to us for relief, variance, on a hardship that you created.
Even with the old porch, we still only had 3 feet in front of the door, which is where we would need the space as well. So that would be my response to that. And in order to add to our house, because we couldn't add to the right side, we had to, the limits of the property. And also, even with this addition, as stated previously, every single house in the neighborhood existed in nonconformity prior to zoning bylaws. So I don't think it makes us any worse than, it definitely does not make us any worse than any other house. So I think there is precedence for having a porch that comes out that distance. And if you look at the other houses on the street, they also have similar depth porches to the one we are creating.
they're here and they're not.
Well, that is a circumstance of time. You know, their houses were created before these zoning bylaws, as was mine. And now I'm working within what we have at this time.
I mean, I'm okay with extending it to the right, and I don't know that you can actually do that. But, I
You
don't wanna-
would, you,
I-
the existing porch lines up with that bump out, so you would not be able to extend to the right.
I don't think that you could.
Well, what's that setback on that side? Do you know?
On
On
the right side, I mean, you,
On the right
like, you'd have to extend it in front of the bump out in order to get around it.
What's
On the right
depth of the
side.
bump out?
What's that?
What's the depth?
3 feet.
So you have 3 feet now. You're gonna end up with a 7-foot porch?
Correct.
I'm not for that.
All right, well, just getting back to some comments that I've heard lately in the last few months is that how many variances and use variances and all that stuff that we give out, you know. I mean, people ask those questions, why do we do that? We do that because that's what we do. We're the zoning board of appeals. And if we didn't give variances and relief to some people that really need it, and anybody that's moved in here recently that's bought and remodeled a home knows that sometimes it has to be done. But, you know, we take criticism for that now, all of a sudden, the way the world's gone the last 6 months. So, I mean, that's why Archie's probably looking at that, you know?
Yep. I understand that.
You know, you don't take precedent when somebody comes in for design review for a sign, do you?
No. I mean, so I understand.
No, but you know, you said precedent, you know.
Yeah.
There's precedent that's been done on the street, but you don't approve somebody's sign because somebody did it before you, before them.
Correct.
You know, it's setting precedent, you know. Anyway, let me open it up to the audience. Anybody in the audience want to comment or make a statement or anything? Sure. Just identify yourself, please.
Yeah, Rob Rappa, I grew up right across the street from that house. He's doing a wonderful job with his remodeling. He's exactly right, all the porches do come out much further than his. I don't see a problem with this at all.
Didn't they just read something off from that? Or was that another wrapper?
Yeah, it's my mother.
Oh, okay. Anyone else? Sure, lady over. Just identify yourself, please.
My name is Lisa Pusella. I just think a front porch adds so much to a town. We have the Porch Fest in the summer. We're sort of promoting having front porches, and I think it sounds like it would be a great addition.
Okay. All right, you want some time to take it under advisement and go look at it, or you want to continue until the next meeting?
I would like to see the addition and the work that's going on. How far are you along with that?
Everything's framed, like everything that we can frame to this point, so, until we know the status of this, so.
What about decreasing that depth some? You know, you're ending up with a 7-foot porch. You've taken away a beautiful porch on the side and built your addition, I understand that. But 7-foot depth on a front porch, you might have had that on the other side on the left side.
As I said before, there was no other practical place to build the rest of the addition. So taking away that porch was sort of what had to be done in order to create something that was economically viable for my family, and that made sense from a design perspective. So.
Yeah, I'd like to continue this
Okay.
and take a ride out.
It's okay if he takes a look at your property?
Absolutely.
The next meeting is going to be August 28th.
Okay.
Anything you wanted to add? I see you twisting your papers.
I'm looking at the renderings, and you can see that the scale of the proposed porch feels what's right for the house. Without the variance, it feels small.
Well, he said he was going for a 4-foot porch, that's why I said.
A 4-foot extension.
Yeah, well, I didn't understand that at first, and he didn't actually say that either. Now I find out he's got another 3 feet on the porch to begin with, so.
They had 3 feet,
Yeah.
and so a 4-foot extension gives, half of the porch will be 7 feet deep, and half will be 3 feet deep.
Well, those are the ones where the people want to sit on the porch, they can get in there because they ain't gonna be able to get out until somebody else moves, you know, you get a 4-foot porch. But anyway. All right, motion?
This is.
Oh, I'm
this is-
sorry, go ahead.
I'm Dion Bernasconi, 32 Cooks Farm Road. I view this as an improvement to a property and not a hardship to the mass amount of citizens in Franklin. One variance in comparison to several that might be needed for a larger development that are going to be a hardship for all of us going up and down 140, the resources in the town, lack of permeable surfaces, that some other decisions we're going to be discussing will create hardships for everyone in the town, not anyone on his street. No one is complaining. I see no reason why there should be an issue.
Where did that happen?
Pardon me?
Where did that happen?
Well, we're talking about the development of, 264 apartments.
Oh,
where
you mean
this is gonna-
444
Yes.
Essential Street?
Yes.
Hasn't happened yet.
No, no, it won't. I'm just saying that requires so much more hardship than one homeowner improving
I'd
property.
like to continue this.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to continue this until August 28th at 7:40? 7:40 PM. So moved.
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? None. Thank you. Okay, time being approximately 7:40 PM.
Madam Chair, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to recuse myself for that one, but we do have minutes, we can do those first, because obviously.
Yeah, we'll do that before you leave, yeah. Yeah.
Well, first, before you recuse yourself, we do have another item on the agenda, parcels 270, 28, 38, 39 West Central Street in Panther Way. Applicant is seeking to conduct earth removal in excess of 1,000 cubic yards. The building permit is denied without a special permit from the ZBA. And we have a letter from Brad Chafee asking us to continue the meeting to August 28th at 7:35.
Motion made, second? Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, none. Let's just quick move on to the minutes before we move into the other thing on the agenda. Approval of the June 5th, 2025 meeting minutes. Members have been provided a copy electronically, and I think there may be a hard copy in your folder here. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes for Thursday, June 5th, 2025.
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded to approve the June 5th, 2025 meeting minutes. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, none. Next thing on the agenda, approval of the meeting July 17th, 18th, no, 17th. 2025. They were put in the first time wrong. It was the 17th, 14 days back from today. Motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes for Thursday, July 17th, 2025.
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Joe should vote on it, Joe and Janelle, because I got to abstain, I wasn't here.
Actually, I wasn't here.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I mean, that's why I was wondering why you were making the motion, but that's okay.
Make a motion to approve the minutes, July 17th, 2025.
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I abstain. Megan? Abstain? Thank you. Okay, here we go.
No, I didn't know it felt like it. You want to vote these in or not?
Yeah, we can do that now, too, I guess. We got a list of meeting dates set up for 2026 so that we can reserve the room. Members have been provided a copy. You see any dates that are on there that make any difference to you, then it's too bad. Because there's nothing that says we're going to meet all these days anyway, but we have to reserve the room ahead of time, so.
Okay, they're all Thursdays?
I'm all set.
No, they're all Thursdays?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I hope so. I didn't check the dates, but, yeah. All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the new hearing dates and filing deadlines for 2026 as presented. So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None. Thank you. Now you can read. You can read.
All right.
Time being approximately 7:45 p.m.
The last item on our agenda is 444 East Central Street, Tag Central LLC. Applicant is seeking a building permit to construct a 264-unit multifamily development. The building permit is denied without a comprehensive permit from the ZBA.
The chair, let me know, I'll be recusing myself.
Yes, sir. Okay, applicant present.
Yes.
Please
Mr.
identify yourself for the record.
Mr. Chairman, good evening. Mr. Chairman and members of the board, AJ Alavisos with the applicant, Tag Central LLC. I'm joined here by my partner, Peter Alavisos with Tag Central LLC. I also have a number of my team members on Zoom. Our architect, Cube 3, Nick Griffin, Jeffrey Dirk of Vanass Associates, our traffic engineer, and our attorney, Peter Freeman, as well as Carlton Quinn of Allen and Major, our civil engineer.
Okay, tonight, we was just scheduled, and I know somebody was mistaken on this, but we were going to finish up with the traffic. So, I
Yes,
don't know
sir.
what we'll be able to get to as far as the civil goes. And we still got stormwater to go through sometime. I mean, even though you're going to Concom, it's still got to be approved by us.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Go ahead.
I do have Jeff Dirk on Zoom, so he can probably give an update better than I can on where traffic peer review stands, so.
Hang on one second.
Yep.
Is Kyrie on, is there somebody there from H&H? Kyrie, I think her name is Kyrie.
Kylie?
Is there a Kyrie on there? I can't see it. Somebody's waving. I know, yeah, she's here. Can you hear us? Kyrie, was that you waving at me? Okay. You can hear us okay. Unmute your mic in case you want to butt in once in a while. All right, thank you.
Terry Pike with Howard Stein Hudson here on behalf of Steve Finland, who is on vacation this week.
He was on vacation last time we met, too. Gets too much time
Yeah.
off there.
We'll work on that.
All right, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, Jeffrey Dirk with Vanessa and Associates, with the applicant's traffic consult, or transportation consultant on the project. So, since the last hearing where I've made a presentation relative to the traffic study or transportation impact assessment that we prepared for the project, I did mention at that time we did have the benefit of a peer review from Carrie's colleague, Steve Finland. That peer review was dated May 30th. We did provide responses to those peer review comments. As I presented at the last hearing, with respect to the methodology and the findings of the transportation study, Howard Stein Hudson, the board's peer review consultant, had found that the study was prepared in accordance with standard practice, and those being of the Massachusetts Department of Transportation. And I think importantly, as the board is reviewing the project, is that the assessment provided a reasonable expectation of what the impact of the project may be. And we also provided some recommendations for mitigation associated with the project. The comments that we had that were outstanding at that time relative to the peer review really dealt with mostly internal circulation within the project site, but in looking externally, It was sight lines at the driveway. The important thing was to make sure, we had made recommendations to make sure that those sight lines stayed clear, so that you were able to see traffic approaching the driveway location, and to make sure that emergency vehicles could get in and out of the property itself. So that was really focusing on the design of the access point in the property. So we provided specific diagrams and drawings to your consultant so that they could evaluate that. The other thing with respect to the off-site improvements or recommendations, as the board may recall, the primary elements of the transportation improvement program, there were physical elements that were going to be undertaken by the applicant, those being looking at retiming the traffic signal at Route 140, Chestnut Street, King Street intersection to offset the impact of the project. We committed to undertaking a corridor improvement study for the section of Route 140 to look at ways to improve capacity, so the movement of vehicles along the corridor, but also looking at mobility enhancements, so it's being safely accommodating pedestrians and bicycles. As you recall, as a part of the project, we are completing the missing section of sidewalk along the south side of the roadway that will provide connectivity between our driveway, essentially extending to the commercial areas, the Big Y Supermarket, Horace Mann Plaza, the CVS, all of those, and Town Hall, all to the west of the project site. So we are completing that missing piece. But there are obviously needs for additional mobility enhancements from the Rentham line all the way through this area. And so that corridor improvement study was intended to address capacity, but as well as accommodating pedestrians and bicycles along that section of roadway. And then lastly, the last part of the mitigation program dealt with ways to offset the amount of traffic produced by the project. So these are transportation demand management measures. So looking at ways to encourage pedestrians, so you have them use that additional sidewalk or the sidewalk connection, but then also making sure that it's safe for people to bicycle along the corridor. But we need to make sure within the site that there's ways for people to store their bikes. So those were also some things that were a part of that transportation demand management measure. And then lastly, as a part of that was also making sure people knew about where the MBTA commuter rail stations are, so Franklin Station in the downtown area. But also, I think, opportunities in working with the town to reestablish GATRA bus service. They do have on-demand service in the town, really operating more as like a dial-a-ride, so you can request a ride, they will then send a shuttle to pick you up. But looking at really extending maybe some fixed route bus service down into this area, because that's something that is lacking, especially with the additional development of multifamily housing in this area. So those things were brought up as a part of the peer review, and we were asked to look at some enhancements to the transportation demand management program, mostly looking at making sure that we had adequate on-site bicycle parking, but also flushing out what the corridor study was intended to do, what those mitigation items may be. And so we identified, what could be done along the Route 140 corridor, because there's been discussion, I think, with the board as well as with the public about, is there actually a way to be able to improve capacity along that corridor? And then looking at the same thing as, are there things that could be done at the Chestnut Street, King Street intersection to improve the flow of traffic at that location besides the retiming that we're talking about? So looking at some longer term improvements. So we did identify some of those measures at the request of Howard San Hudson, just so that they could provide some more information to the board as to what might be in that corridor study that we'll be producing to the board, and whether it would be something that would be worthwhile. Because the goal of that corridor study really is about the creation of affordable housing at this project site allows for opportunities for the town to obtain grant money to undertake a larger corridor-wide infrastructure improvement. And so this study was intended to identify what those improvements may be, and then assisting the town with applying for those grant applications. So that's why your consultant had asked us to flush out in a little bit more detail what those improvements may be. So we did identify those in the response letter. So at this time, I know that Howard San Hudson has had a chance to review our responses, and just looking at their review of issues, which I think is very helpful. They provide the board a chart that basically shows, what the outstanding comments were and whether they've been addressed or not. So we started off with 10 items that required a response, either dealing with the transportation study or with the on-site. And I believe that there are only 2 items that remain open. And those items deal with just really looking at bicycle parking within the project site, just to confirm that we're going to have weather-protected bicycle parking and how many bicycle parking spaces there will be and where they'll be located within the site. But as it relates to the traffic study, the analysis we've undertaken, and the mitigation, there are no open items at this time that we've been asked to respond to. So I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Chairman, as to whether you want to hear from your consultant, and certainly available to answer any questions that you might have.
Kyrie, do you have anything to add?
Carrie.
Carrie, I thought it was Kyrie.
No, I think Mr. Dirk did a fine job of summarizing where we are. As he said, we had those 10 items, and it's really just, we've come down to, we're satisfied with all of the responses and additional plans and things that he's provided. And really the last question is just about the on-site bike parking for the residents. So there is some proposed, I think, outdoor that's meant to be visitor bike parking, but we're asking just about whether there would be any inside the building, so secure, covered, protected for the use of the residents. And so I think that's just the one remaining item.
If I could just chime in, on that one remaining item, the question was whether we would have bike rooms, dedicated rooms inside of any of the buildings for bike storage or bike parking. And we submitted a response on that issue via email on July 10th. We indicated that we wouldn't have interior bike storage rooms that were dedicated strictly for bike storage. We will have storage units available for tenants for rent, but all the bike parking will be limited to the exterior bike racks that'll be located, as we shown on the site plan, dedicated to each building throughout the property. We found that tenants, if they wish to bring in their bike, interior, a lot of them just tend to bring it into their unit and put in their unit. We see that that's an adequate way to handle bike parking, just through the exterior racks and that solution. So that's the plan.
Carrie, a quick question for you. Is there anything insurmountable here with the traffic? I mean, I've never seen a project yet that was turned down because of traffic, but I know there's a bad traffic problem on East Central Street certain times of the day. God knows.
No, there is not. I think what's being proposed makes sense, and as Mr. Dirk said, helping the town with finding some of those grants, again, to study what else can be done, understanding that a larger project would potentially have takings of private property to make any significant improvements. So I think we're comfortable with where we are as far as that goes.
One more quick thing, Carrie. The town's been taking money from, not us, but from the planning board. They've been getting money from a couple of the apartment buildings that were built over here. And one was $15,000, one was another $5,000. I don't think anybody can say that they've seen any improvement in the traffic. But one of the buildings isn't occupied yet. The other one's fully occupied, so. I mean, what can they do with 15 or 20,000 as far as setting the lights right so that they go a little while before they, like, I know other places where you go to, if you go 50 miles an hour in between each light, which this isn't the speed limit here, but you can go like 10 lights before you get caught at a red light, I mean, it seems here that once CVS put their light in, anytime anybody wanted to leave CVS or the Shaw's Parking Plaza, the Shaw's Plaza over there, the Horseman Plaza, whatever the name of it is, that the lights change and that kind of screws it up all the way down the line. How can they fix that, do you know?
I mean, so that's some of what can be done with this kind of money, is to try to get those lights so that they're more synced, so that what you described, where if you're going, usually when we do that, we set them for a certain speed, and you set that based on what the speed limit of the road is and what the desired, if the speed limit's 30, you want to set it for 25 or 30, so that if you hit the first one green and you're going that speed, you should be able to keep going and not have to slow down. That's better for traffic flow, it's better for air quality, more stopping, equals more pollution from cars, that kind of thing. So that's how it works, but to do that, you have to, there may be timing changes. And I would also say, that, you know, you mentioned a couple of other projects that one's occupied where one is not yet. You know, another thing that you want to do there is check the volumes after they're open, because if you're basing those new timings on the current situation without the new buildings in place and occupied, then you're not accounting for the new traffic, right? So you want to make sure that the counts you get new traffic counts after those buildings are open, and they need to be operating a little bit so that people that live there kind of settle into their routines, and then you're getting a good estimate of what the traffic really is with the, you know, we do our estimates in the traffic studies, but still, if you're going to make some physical improvements, you want to have that monitoring so that you can then actually time for what is out there in that current situation.
Typically, when they monitor, how many different times during the day do they monitor the traffic? I know you put the hoses across the street and you count the traffic that way, but how often do they?
Yeah, so, I mean, typically, if you're talking about signal retiming, you're gonna wanna get the intersection turning counts again. So it's not necessarily the tubes across the road that you see. It's usually nowadays, most of our vendors that do them, they do them with video. So they put video cameras up and then they have a program that counts them. And so it's typically done on a weekday. You want to do it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, not on a Monday or Friday. Ideally, you know, when school is in session, so, you know, you're capturing any of that kind of traffic also. But typically it's, you get a period of 2 to 3 hours in the morning and 2 to 3 hours in the afternoon, and then we look at, you know, it's kind of the same process as what was gone through for the traffic study here. Basically, you're going to recollect those data and then look at, okay, so our morning rush hour, the worst hour is 8 to 9 o'clock, let's say. And the worst hour in the afternoon is 4:30 to 5:30. And then you use that to run the analysis to say, okay, we need to change the timing. And then it's, you know, there are contractors that specifically do this just for traffic signals. And so they would come out, open the control box, make the changes, depending on how extensive the changes are. If it's just timing, it's usually pretty simple. If it looks like there's something else needed, it can be a little more involved. But so in that case, that money should be enough to be able to accomplish that.
Well, that was money that's already been previously given, so, you know, if we need some more, we
Right.
probably need some more, but somebody will have to come up with that. What was your engineer's name? Mr. Dirk?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, sir.
Is he still on?
Yes, he is.
Okay. Mr. Dirk, what do you anticipate it would cost to do all these lights, to synchronize them so that they moved in a orderly fashion?
So we're going to be retiming the King Street signal. We estimated that cost to be about $15,000. Now, assuming that all of the infrastructure is in place at those intersections, so that they're talking to each other, as Carrie described today, we actually would be implementing the synchronization as a part of the timing plan that we put together. It might be a little bit more than the $15,000 that we had estimated for the King Street intersection, but not much. It might be $20,000, because the bottom line is that if the signals are coordinated, we can't just retime one signal without adjusting the timing at the other locations.
Right.
Because as Carrie described, and I think as you described, if one of them is out of sync, then none of it works. And so what we would do is implement a timing plan that would reflect the signals all being coordinated. I think the only time we would run into a substantial additional cost is if for some reason they're not synchronized, if they're not tied together. But most traffic signals have the ability to communicate with each other. If it's not a hardwired connection, they have GPS-based system that basically the signal knows where it is, and so it has coordinates. And so the coordinates are then translated to each of the intersections so that they know, okay, the next signal is 1,000 feet away just based on the GPS coordinates. So we can synchronize the lights using GPS and time-based coordination, even if they're not. So I think it's something we can do as a part of the project, and it would be an incremental cost above and beyond what we're already doing at the King Street intersection.
The King Street intersection, you're doing that as part of this project or part of the other two that you looked at here?
No, as a part of this project.
Okay.
It sounds to me, Mr. Chairman, like the planning board accepted monies for those other projects, and maybe the intent was, let's say, to treat it like an impact fee, to collect the money and then use that money to go out and implement improvements, which does make sense, because if those projects were small, then they're not gonna rise to the level of going out and doing major infrastructure improvements, so they may have collected some money. This project's large enough, and in order to offset our impact, we do need to retime the traffic signal at the King Street intersection, which, as Howard Stein Hudson has kind of reviewed, we can offset the impact of the project. We can't make things appreciably better, but we can use that retiming of that signal to address what you're pointing out, which is somewhere the coordination got lost between the signals. They should be synchronized. And so if they're not working in synchronized today, then it's something we can do as a part of the retiming of the King Street intersection.
Now, the next question I got for you, because two of the lights are on a state highway and the light at King Street is town-owned, how do we coordinate those? I mean, do we have to get somebody from the state out here to do that? Because that could take forever.
Yeah, that, so I think your town engineer, I think, is very good in kind of bridging that gap. And I think Carrie can opine as well, that there's very often the state doesn't tie their signals into the local system. And so sometimes that just requires a little push. So that could be what's happening. But I think your town engineer knows MassDOT and works with them very well. So I think just working with because that signal being town signal, we can work with the town engineer to coordinate with MassDOT to get the signal synchronized.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board? Megan?
I think this traffic signal coordination sounds like a great idea.
They know what they're talking about, so. Janelle, questions? Traffic?
Yes, so questions on the follow-ups on the traffic. A couple minors and then a bigger one. So the bike parking, the bike racks, would you consider covered bike infrastructure, bike racks there? If not enclosed, but covered?
I would have to look into it further. But yes, I would consider it.
I think that would be more likely to attract bike users, and then they would use them more because they're not out in the rain, and
Okay, got it.
that would be a strong recommendation there on that one. The types of EV charging, I saw in the documents from the engineers, they locate them they're located on the site civil plan, but I'm curious what type of chargers are being planned for. Because that impacts, there's future capacity noted, but whether it's level 2 or level 3, that could be a big difference.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of time since I've spec'd electric vehicle charging stations. Carlton Quinn, our civil, might, or Jeffrey Dirk might be able to opine on that further, but we haven't spec'd any specific models for our electric vehicle charging stations yet. And we wouldn't want to until we were closer to delivery, because things change.
I just bring it up because I know if we're thinking a couple years out, then it feels light to only have 2 spots per building and then 20% of the units
20%
of spaces.
it can be, yeah, there's a reserve of 20% for the future, so we can add more up to 20%. Is that?
Yeah, that's what I saw, but I'm like, if in a year or 2 from now, the standard is a lot more than that, or faster charging, just, it might be better to spec sooner rather than later and have it be more intense.
So
there's a lot of EV charging, EV car growth.
Okay, so just so I'm making sure I'm understanding you correctly. So you're saying, your comment is program to a higher reserve, so maybe 30% instead of 20%, for example, that could be utilized for the future as EV charging stations. Is that correct?
If that was 30% with minimum level 2 charging, but maybe level 3 charging even, those are the kinds of chargers.
Okay, I'd have to look into that comment further.
Okay. lastly, well, I guess a comment on the light timing. I would suggest expanding the light retiming to the lights on the stretch between the site and King Street, not just the King Street one.
No,
No.
that was the intent, I think, was to do all three.
It just,
The only word thing I brought up is two are state controlled and one is town controlled.
yeah, but Mr. Dirk just said they would do, in the proposal is
He kept talking about King
$15,000 to
Street.
do King Street
Yeah.
only.
Yeah.
And that they talk to each other, but I think it needs to be all of them intentionally. And then the study to do the, what was it called? For basically the corridor improvement study. It's one thing to say you'll do a study that could then, the town can then submit grants for, but there's no guarantee that we get any money to actually implement anything that comes out of the study. So we'd be looking for some type of commitment to improve the recommendation that came out of that study, as long as it's reasonable or achievable, just more than just the study is my question, if that could be considered.
Okay, I understand. I think it's up for consideration as we get further along and further along in the process and start talking about a decision. We can consider that.
Okay. That was what I had for today.
Jay, any questions, comments?
So I guess my question goes down to the lights that are going to be timed. And Janelle did mention it, but what is the clarity there? Are we doing all the lights on that stretch in 140 from King Street or Chestnut to the unit, or, I mean, what's the farthest going to be, this light right here?
There's only three lights. There's one here, one at CVS, and one at King Street. Yeah, so those three lights,
I
those
just
are all we
wanted
got to
get
work with.
confirmation that we're talking about the three lights.
Yeah.
Jeff, is that something you can answer?
So I think I guess the issue would only become if, and I think this is just something as, how you would have to look at structuring a condition at the appropriate time, is obviously, to the chair's point, if MassDOT, if we work with the town engineer and MassDOT says you can't connect the Big Y and Horseman Plaza signals to the Chestnut Street signal for whatever reason, obviously we wouldn't be able to do that. To the extent that they say, yes, you can do that using the existing signal equipment, then when we retime the traffic signal at the Chestnut Street intersection, it would include adjusting the timing at the other intersections to provide what the chair was describing, which is being able to drive through green lights at an appropriate speed in the corridor. But it would have to be, and I know the board's familiar with this, it would have to be subject to, because obviously if MassDOT says no, we can't connect to their system.
So it's the other two lights that are probably more of an issue than the Chestnut Street light.
Well, they all tie in each other. They're all a quarter of a mile apart, so you don't have to go very far before you hit the next one. So if they're all synchronized, then you might be able to make,
But
might
I
be
mean,
one
it's gonna
time
be
a week.
based on the state allowing it and saying it, so we're not going to know that until the state says it.
Right. But like he said, that I guess Mike Magnolia must have been talking about, he's the town engineer, evidently gets along good with the state. Don't forget, we got a lot of lights here, and a lot of them are on state property, so I'm sure that they know each other.
I don't have any further questions.
Okay. I'll open it up to the audience now. Same rules as before. You get up. I'm going to set my timing here for 3 minutes. Out of that 3 minutes, you can ask a question, get an answer, and make a comment, but everything counts inside of that 3 minutes. I mean, last time we did this, most people didn't even use 2, so 3 minutes has been a pretty good number from what I've seen here. But
Chair, before you open it up, can I have one question,
Sure. Go ahead.
non-related to the traffic?
Sure.
Okay. Were your architects able to do sections through the original proposed site and buildings, and then the new 4 building, scenario?
Um,
I know the last time we met, we asked for that,
Yeah,
but I didn't see that submitted.
as it relates to the abutting properties, is that what we were talking about?
Through the whole site and showing the grade in relation to the abutting properties
Yeah,
and the roof lines in relation to the abutting
We
properties.
did do a diagram that shows in relation to the easterly abutting properties as it relates to our project and a section of that.
Okay.
I do have that. I can show it on screen if you'd like, or I can submit it.
Well, you can put it up on screen if you want, and then if you can get us some copies of it, obviously, that would be good too.
Yeah.
You want to see it on screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Let's see here. Hey, Nick, you're on the line too as well, right? If you could unmute yourself, I'm probably gonna have to ping you on a couple of things here.
This seems pretty seamless today. It must be working good.
We get the right Chris.
Oh, we got the right Chris in the room over there to control.
Let me just try to maximize this. Let's see here. Okay. So what you're looking at here is a section. On the bottom left is a diagram of our site plan. So that red line there is the perspective that the section is taken from. And on the left side, the proposed four-story building, that is our four-story building that's closest to the easterly property line. The red dotted line in the center of the diagram is the property line on our east side of the property. And to the right of that is 40 Redgate Lane, which is the end of the Redgate Lane cul-de-sac. So we put this diagram together just to add a little bit more context to the existing grades that exist today out there. So our site is truly in a valley compared to the cul-de-sac to the east of us. Approximately, so our elevation for finished grade is about 279 feet. That's our finished elevation. That's about 19 feet shorter than the finished elevation of the homes at the end of the cul-de-sac on Redgate Lane. These are approximate estimates, but if you go out on site today and take a look, you can tell that cul-de-sac sits on a pretty significant hill compared to our site. Nick can tell you more about, we obviously don't have surveyed data off our property at the end of the cul-de-sac, but it's using LiDAR, publicly available information from MassGIS, and sources like that to approximate what those elevations are. So on the left, where the building's labeled proposed four-story building, the top of that sloped roof is the four-story building with a sloped roof. The blue dashed line is the currently proposed top of roof height on a flat roof, which is what we currently submitted. And the red sloped line is a three-story roof height with a sloped roof. So as you can see, in all cases, the top of roof for all of those different scenarios are approximately the same size or less than the top of roof for the single-family homes at the end of Red Gate Lane cul-de-sac. Approximately, again, I just want to be clear. We don't have the height of those homes. We don't have survey data that actually is exact for the elevations of those grades, but using pretty reliable information, this is what our architect put together and verified by seeing everything out in the field as well.
That should have been information that would have been readily available. I mean, you take a two-story colonial or whatever, you know that what each floor is 10 feet, and you go to the,
Correct.
you know, so if you go up that high, you're gonna know the windows are gonna be down a little bit lower than that, so. But, and then you should be able to get the number. Do you have a number where that blue line is there on the flat roof? Or is that just a line? It doesn't-
Nick, could you jump in? He asked
Yes.
if you heard, did you hear that?
What the height of the blue line is off the ground?
Yeah,
Yep, it's just under 45 feet,
okay.
44 and a half depending on
44.8.
the
And there's how much,
installation.
and there's
Correct,
how
yeah,
much
44.
difference between the two properties?
19 feet
about-
approximately.
From the base of the building, correct. And yeah, to your point, that's how we got the height and shape of Red Gate based on standard practice.
What's the horizontal distance scale?
It's not scaled horizontally. It's not to show how far away buildings are. It's not to scale.
Yeah.
No?
So what is the distance?
Hang on a minute, anybody wants to ask a question, you'll have to wait till it's the public's turn, please. I see you there, Gene, I thought you didn't come tonight, 'cause I didn't, you were hiding down in the back.
Wait.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Any more
Well-
questions?
Yeah, it's about 190 feet in that section apart. And we are showing it at an appropriate scale distance.
Building to building, not property, how far are you off the property line?
Our building, at that close area, it's about 80 feet.
Now, if you had a three-story building there with a flat roof, where would that bring that? Probably where those orange lines come out of the sides of the building, down that much further?
Correct, just above that, yep, with a parapet on it, correct.
Yeah. All right,
But-
anybody else got another question?
I'll just note, I don't know if everybody can read it, but it says estimated vegetation buffer not shown.
Yep.
So in the letter, we saw there's a proposal to add coniferous trees all in through there and other site improvements and buffer areas.
Yes, I would love to show a little further detail on that. So based on the last site revision, what it did for us was multiple benefits. It made the site plan more efficient because we were able to consolidate buildings from 5 to 4, which freed up a lot of room on the east side. So where it's labeled preservation of existing tree buffer, all of that existing tree buffer would have had to be removed based on the old site plan. The new site plan allowed us to maintain all of that existing tree buffer that's shown there, because we're not cutting as close to the property edge as we had to in the old plan. We also were able to increase the setback of the building that's closest to the easterly property line by about 10 feet. Impervious area was reduced by about 10% overall. We also, in addition to the existing tree buffer that we were able to save, which would have been removed, we are proposing a pretty substantial vegetated buffer of new trees, which include sorry, a little technical difficulty here.
Can you drag it down? Maybe not. There's a blue line in there. What's the blue line? Is that a lot line or something, or is that just a?
The blue line is the fence. So as we promised, we proposed to build a fence, and we spec'd it in the plan set we submitted. We also have imagery to show that a little bit more if I can get the computer to work. So give me 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. Here's some representative examples of some of the easterly buffer new trees that we're proposing. My landscape architect isn't on the line today. He couldn't make it, but he could do a lot better job of explaining this more than me. But we specifically picked trees that had thick cover, that grew to a tall height when mature, and he specifically called out these trees to be the best for buffering. And here's more information on the vinyl fence that we've proposed along the easterly property line. Obviously, the fence doesn't do much in terms of buffer because the homes sit so much higher up than our site, but it does provide a sense of security and a bit of screening between our easterly property line and the cul-de-sac.
What's that? Any more questions?
Could you make it an 8-foot fence?
I can certainly look into that.
Need a permit for 8-foot fence, right? Gus, need a permit for an 8-foot fence?
For an 8-foot fence, yes.
What's that?
Yeah, and we'll get copies of these.
Yes.
I don't know, we got a big set of copies here. I didn't go through them yet to see what they
It's
have.
not
Just
all,
got-
that diagram wasn't in here.
Yeah, I don't think so. Gene, come on up.
Thank you.
Gene Grella, 36 Redgate Lane. So you guys were talking, let's talk for a second about the review you did tonight about the porch. That's a really good example of something to talk about, because you talked about the character of the neighborhood, you talked about, you know, this porch that was maybe not fitting, going 4 feet out. And then we take it to this project, and you're looking at the character of the neighborhood, and you've got a 4-story building, giant 4-story building, that's 80 feet off the property line. That's less than 200 feet away from the other houses. And to all of you at the board, I have to ask, is that not, you know, you're looking at the character of the neighborhood, you're looking at the impact to the neighborhood, that is not an impact to the neighbors, to the neighborhood, to the abutters, you know, not to mention all the traffic and all the other stuff. I'm just saying, that is, I guess, what you're here for, right? To look at these sorts of issues. And what I'm really asking for is that, you know, you consider, I mean, we've looked at, I mean, we've been coming to these meetings, right? We saw, you know, pushback on the parking spaces. They made adjustments to that, okay? But so far, other than this fence we talked about, other than taking the roof off, we haven't really seen any major changes to these plans to, you know, placate the concerns that we have in the neighborhood. So I'm just asking the group of you to look at this and take this into consideration if that's your house that you have to live in, and you look out. Right now, look out my backyard, it's woods. You know, soon it'll be 80 feet out from my property line. It'll be a giant 4-story, 72-unit building. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Gene.
Mr. Chairman, is it appropriate to talk about things besides traffic?
You bring them up to the extent we can talk, you know, I mean,
In particular, I want to talk
what do you want to talk
about the
about?
stormwater management.
That comes under, you should be going to the Conservation Commission.
There's things relevant to the zoning board, with your
Well, it's
permission.
gonna, listen, we make the final approval, but the applicant asked for a consideration to go to the Concom, because the Concom, I felt, would have been a tougher board to get through than us, because there's a lot more stuff that they gotta go through with Concom. You know, when they first went to Concom, they were you know, they were giddy at Concom. Oh, this is great, this is the best, this is a real friendly 40B. But they went ahead and, you know, they got a lot of things in there. The biggest thing that they got to deal with is the Rivers Act. I saw the NOI, I saw the comment from the peer review, and I'm sure their peer review gave them an answer back for it, but I haven't heard it yet, you know, about that they shouldn't give them the NOI because it didn't meet with the, you know, with what they wanted. So, but at least what they were looking for approval.
With your permission, I'd like to say something to the zoning board relevant to the zoning board's discretion.
Go ahead.
All right, so I'm Richard Stratt from 10 Hayden Lane in Cook's Farm. And I wanted to raise again a concern that has been raised about the stormwater management. It's become more relevant since the review you obtained from Beta. So this has actually become more urgent. So I thought that was relevant to your consideration. So just to repeat, the concern that I'm worried about is that if stormwater management is not done correctly because of the extra impervious area, there could be flooding of Uncas Brook. And Uncas Brook directly affects the neighboring Cook's Farm. And so you've probably seen this picture. It's from the document submitted. The development is over here. The Cook's Farm is over here. And that point where the arrow is the choke point connecting the vast majority of Cook's Farm out. If Uncas Brook floods, that choke point becomes unavailable to any traffic, including emergency vehicles. And so the reason I'm bringing this up again is because the issue of stormwater management has apparently not been sufficiently addressed, at least according to the Beta. So just with regard to why this is of concern to you, so the variance, among the variances you're being asked to grant are those having to do with Chapter 181, wetlands protection. And in the purposes section of that chapter, if you'll let me quote, the purpose is to preserve and protect floodplains and wetlands that have significant or cumulative effect on, among other things, and it's listed quite a number of things, but in the middle of the things that are up to your purview are flood control. So flood control is part of the issue that you need to think about in creating variances relevant to wetlands protection. And what makes this particularly relevant, it seems to me, in view of what you just heard from Beta, is that they in fact make the point that stormwater management has not been adequately considered. If you look on page 11 of the report from Beta on the stormwater management, the stormwater comment number 21, they note that flood levels associated with Uncas Brook flooding have not been considered, right, in regard to the particular point they were making in that point. So I will finish. So this is something that seems relevant to your variance considerations in addition to possibly to the Conservation Commission. And I would hope that you would consider it, and I would hope that the developers would consider addressing this point specifically.
Not only do they have to deal with Beta, but we have an engineer on, peer reviewer that's going to review the report also. He's just not going to go in as much depth as Beta did, because Beta is going to identify all the problems. And then when they come up, they've already given a whole list of 60 answers for everything that they've got there, and that's the way it works. Beta comes up with 34 pages or something, 18 of them was writing on, and the last paragraph says it shouldn't be approved. But since then, they've answered back. So it's a give and take, not give and take, but we give you what we think, and then you give us what you think, So they're working it out, and in the meantime, our peer review engineer is getting all this information at the same time. So not only does it, because the Concom can't approve this project, just the ZBA can. And when you say we're relieving of the Wetlands Act, I don't know, maybe the local regulations, that's the only thing we have any control over is the local regulations. If they're looking for anything state regulations, we don't have any control over that at all.
This I'm reading from the Franklin Chapter 181. This is from Franklin
Well, that's
itself.
the Franklin bylaws.
That's correct.
The local bylaws, yes.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And then the variances that are requested are with regard to those particular sections in those
And
particular
they're entitled
bylaws.
to ask for those.
Pardon me?
They're entitled to
Yeah, of
ask
course they
for
are.
those.
And that's why it's under your purview, since you'll be considering whether to grant those.
Well, they're before the Concom now, and we haven't given them any waivers, so I don't know what the Concom's going to say. Let it run its course. That's why we're not talking about that tonight, because they just got, the peer review from Beta came back, I think, about a week or so ago.
July 10th.
They've already got, answers to 60 of their questions, 62 of them, whatever it is. And, so now it's a back and forth. And then I'm not even sure that our peer reviewer has the answers that their engineer sent to the Concom yet, because I just emailed it to him today. He may have gotten a set, I don't know. You know, they all work together, they all send each other the stuff to make it flow and easy to contact each other. You know what I mean? But believe me, we got all the stuff covered, it just hasn't got to that point yet.
I certainly hope that you have all the stuff covered. I will mention that this is the third time I've raised this point, once at the Conservation Committee, another time at the Zoning Board. Each time it's not the appropriate time to bring it up. And so all I'm requesting is that when it is brought up in a fashion that we as, common citizens and you as non-specialists in hydrology can understand clearly this particular issue. I'm alerting the board once again that this particular issue, among other issues, is one that needs to be addressed for the concerns of the neighboring butters.
Thank you.
Through
Anyone
the
else?
chair, can I
I'm
ask,
sorry, go
can
ahead.
I ask a follow-up question to the applicant related? So in the first hearing, before that, we had heard from the neighbors that there was flood challenges in this area. And so I had asked for the stormwater to consider adjacent properties and cumulative water flow at that time. But it looks like what's being reviewed by COMCOM and what we've gotten so far is it really just looks at the water within the property boundaries. Is that correct?
I'd have to let Carlton Quinn, our civil engineer, answer that question. All I can say is I agree with Mr. Chairman on this aspect of the project. We are in the middle of a peer review process with Beta and with Hancock Associates. It's a very fluid process. We got maybe 100 comments that we just submitted responses to this week. We're still working together and coordinating to respond and make sure any issue related to stormwater will be addressed, especially flooding. So all I can say is I think perhaps maybe address this at maybe the next hearing or whenever it's
Yeah,
appropriate.
the 28th will be civil and
When we're more prepared from our team's standpoint.
Okay.
because things they're just going back and forth now. Like I said, we only got something last week, and I don't know when their answers went back, but whatever the date was on the letter there, I just saw it tonight.
All right. So I'll be asking about beyond the site, though, because I know it's been brought up a couple times by us and by abutters.
Certainly.
Okay.
Carlton, if you want to chime in now, feel free, or we can just wait until we're ready to respond to that one.
I can, I think, respond to this comment. So we are analyzing the stormwater from our property and any abutting properties that flow into our site. We're not doing a global neighborhood study. We're charged with mitigating the stormwater from our site and assuming we are improving the conditions on our site and nothing else changes in the neighborhood that would, the general assumption, engineering standard practice wise, is that we haven't made any conditions worse as long as we're mitigating the stormwater that's running onto our site.
So you're analyzing the outflow from the site, and you're confirming that it's not any worse than it is now?
Currently, yeah.
Post-development than it is pre-development.
Are you exploring any ways to improve it, to make it better?
Yeah, it's going to be better, or it will be better because there's no stormwater mitigation there now. So we will be improving the rates, the volumes, and the water quality coming off our site just by installing updated stormwater systems.
There was a significant rainstorm, 2 weeks ago? About that. Did anybody from the development team have a chance to go out there and look at what was going on the property?
Well, we did not.
No, okay. My understanding it was, it didn't look very good for you guys, but.
I have a question if I can, is it Carmen?
Carlton.
You made a statement that you are not making the site any worse by adding your 5 buildings and all the infrastructure. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
when I speak of that, I meant from our stormwater discharges off our site. We'll be reducing the rates and the volumes of stormwater discharging off our site.
Yet to be seen.
What's that?
Yet to be seen. But anyway, I'm sorry. I don't want to keep you standing there all night.
Oh, no worries, I could use the break. Steve Malloy, Russet Hill Road, over in Cook's Farm. I was going to ask about the peer review. Initially, my question was going to be just qualitatively. Could you give us a sense of whether that was an easy peer review, a tough peer review? Is there a lot to go through? But put that aside for the moment. It was more process-related. I look for an agenda on the meeting, and I just see the general topic of 440. I don't know what's going to be discussed.
I don't know how the Concom puts it up, but obviously this was addressed to the permitting specialist with the Conservation Commission. And he forwarded it on to Casey, our secretary, and she forwarded it on to us. So Beta's not directly working for us. They work for the Conservation Commission.
Okay.
It was handling the stormwater and the drainage at the request of the applicant, which, knowing how these people work, they're a lot worse off with these people than they will be with that guy, probably, you know. But these people aren't easy. They're just not going to let it flow through.
So you have an engineering peer review going on as well? That's separate from this? This is just wastewater storm management?
But it's like the traffic study, you know, it's going to save our guy some time.
I get it.
And, you know, but I mean, he'll go through this, he'll go through the answers, he'll look at the whole plan, and then come up with a quantitative discussion about what's got to happen.
I'm a novice. I just looked at that report. From what I could see online, it seemed like there was a lot there.
Well, there's a lot of pages, but there's only 15 that got words on them. The rest got a lot of pictures, you know, so. But
15 pages of reading's a lot, especially if you don't know what they're writing.
especially if you don't know what they're saying.
Exactly.
But I mean, I always go right to the end of it, you know, review a summary. Based on our review, no submittal. The plans probably comply with the Act of the Massachusetts Stormwater Management Standards, which isn't the town standards, it's just the state standard, so, you know.
But more broadly, just in terms of what to expect going forward for this process, because we're kind of blind in terms of what's going on, what the back and forth is, a lot of discussion about.
But that's how it works.
I understand, but we have a public meeting requirement in terms of what gets discussed, but a lot happens outside the public meetings, and I feel like you've been generous giving me more than 3 minutes, but in a 3-minute segment, I just don't know if there's a better way to inform us of the back and forth that's gone through and what happened, and just so we have a better understanding of what's being considered and what's ultimately going to be approved.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Anyone else? You're a little bit quicker to the mic, go ahead.
All right. I'm Doug Opelt. I live at 19 Northern Spy Road. Question for the board. Do you plan on approving this project without determining the status of whether the lights can be synced or not?
Oh, with the lights can be synced.
So all 3 lights can be synced very easily because you talked about the
There's
state.
no doubt in my mind that that can be done.
Okay. So will be done or can?
Well, it will be done as long as the town engineer gets a hold of the state people and they work together and get it done. I mean, if there's any cost involved, somebody's gonna pay for it, it ain't gonna be the town.
All right. Would it be better to get the grants that you're talking about to build the roads, to get that stuff done beforehand, before you build this, or do you
Doesn't usually work that way. You gotta show a need, you know, to get the grant money. You have to show that the volume of traffic needs some improvement.
So, I had trouble trying to figure out how big 467 parking spaces are. The Big Y has about 207. So if you think about the scope of how much parking you're putting in there, it's 2+ Big Y parking lots going in there. To me, I just find that to be.
They don't have to put in the parking if they take out the units. It's up to them.
Well, you're approving a 467 parking spaces.
We haven't approved anything yet.
Well, that's what they're asking for.
It's I think they came up to 1.6. 1.6.
Which is 467.
1.6 is 264, and another half of that would be 130, so 264 and 130 is how much? It's 400, 300 and something. saw you writing over there.
Do you know how many parking spaces you have in there?
We have 426.
There you go.
So that's 2 times bigger than the Big Y. I mean, it's just to see, a lot of people don't have a concept of how big this project is, but I look at the Big Y parking space and I
And
go,
some
2
people
of
in town
those.
here don't want to put any parking spaces in. You know, they came with 1 parking space, I think, or maybe less than 1 for the 260 spaces. You know, the project up on Grove Street put in 1.74, I think, or something like that. So we're trying to hold them to a standard so that we make sure they got enough parking. Right now, we don't have any problem with parking anywhere that I'm aware of.
All right, question for the builder. Is there a fence in the back of the property?
Back of the property is a river.
The back of the property is wetlands, and no fence is currently proposed in the back of the property.
You said the back of the property is a river. That's my yard.
No, there's a river, there's a...
That's my yard.
Okay, well, if
That's
your
where I
yard
live.
goes into the middle of the stream, then
Don't
it's
say a
your yard.
river.
They're
You
not
could
gonna
say
put
the
a fence
back
in
of the
middle.
property is Doug's yard.
Oh, no, okay.
That's what it is, right? So would you consider a fence along that back of the property?
They were proposing to donate the land to the town along the back of the property.
So
He's not going to give you an answer.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's correct. We are proposing to donate, to deed the southerly acreage of the property to the town at the Conservation Commission's request.
So no, probably.
I don't
know how they're going to put a fence in the middle of
It
the
wouldn't be
river.
our property.
Supposing that you own to the back of their property, then you must own whatever, what's the name?
The whole pond.
What's the name of that brook back there? I don't know.
Uncas.
Uncas Brook. It
Yeah,
goes in the back. So
I own all
Uncas
of
Brook
them.
butts
Yeah.
up against their
Well,
land,
yeah.
and if it butts up against your land, you gotta be on the other side of Uncas Brook. So where do you propose that they put the fence? They don't own
On the back
other
of their
s-
property.
They don't, well, the back of their property is in a brook.
No, it is not. I don't think you know what you're talking about,
I
quite
know
honestly.
exactly what I'm talking,
Because
believe me.
my
I played-
land, I can walk
I've been in
across.
Cook's Farm long before anybody ever thought of moving there.
I can walk across the pond when it's frozen and still stand on my yard.
I used to ice skate in the pond in the back.
Oh, I ice skate all the time, so do my kids. So last thing you bring up ice skating. What happens when you build 264 units? I assume there's gonna be some kids in there. What are you gonna do to keep the kids off that pond, ice skating, like you said you did, which is actually my land, and some kid falls through, drowns, is that the town's fault? Your responsibility, your legal issue, or is it my problem because they're on my land falling in my pond?
If they're on the ice and they're in the water, I can't believe that you're in your land unless your property line goes to the middle of that Uncas Brook.
My property line goes to the other side of the pond.
Okay, so it goes to
Which I
their-
already said that.
Butts up against their property. Can't see it.
19. Doug, you're 19
Whatever.
Yeah,
north?
19.
This is wetlands, water, you know.
That's his property. I'm just showing
Okay,
you.
the whole thing there?
The whole thing, the whole smash.
Okay, good.
That's what I've been saying the whole time.
Yeah.
Like many months now. So let's get to that last, then I'll leave and let you want to talk. When if a kid, God forbid, falls through that ice, because they're living in this 264 units, I'm sure there's going to be 5 or 6 kids in there. When they fall through, if they fall through, is that the town's issue because of this land he's donating, or is it my problem because it's my land?
I'm not so sure the town's gonna take his land that he wants to donate.
So can you answer the question? Is it your issue?
I don't know whose responsibility it's gonna be.
Okay.
Probably the parents for letting them go ice skating on the thin ice. I don't know.
On my land?
Oh, on your land.
Okay.
If
All
you
right.
see, if you see people ice skating on your land, I suggest you call the police and have them removed.
I'll be sure to watch 100% of the day.
Well, I'm just saying, you know. you're
I won't go to
asking
work
who's-
because I better watch
Well, you're asking
the
who's
pond.
responsible, who's responsible, you know?
I have a feeling I am, quite honestly.
I don't know, you could be, if it depends on what lawyer they get, you could be. Thank you.
That's my point.
Thank you, time's up.
Gary Love, 39 Redgate Lane. I think I know our fellow neighbors have tried to do a good job of not just representing ourselves as abutters, because we are, but as kind of citizens of the town of Franklin. And we've mentioned a lot of things. I know last week there was a meeting with the town council and the town administrator, talking seriously about stopping 40B apartments going forward because of the response they've been getting from the town. So I feel we've done a pretty good job of trying to represent us as citizens as well as abutters. And we want to keep doing that, but the concerns seem to keep mounting as far as what this project and the scope of this project is. Whether that would have changed anyone's opinion from when decisions were made or thoughts were, it's kind of a moot point, because if I understand things correctly, the ability to either say no or modify the type or size of this project really rests with you and your board. So that's our understanding. And so, as I said, I think it just feels like the town, as well as we as abutters, these issues, the number of waivers that are going on, the environmental impacts, the wetlands, the water management, the flood, the issues that we as abutters and others will probably feel, depending on how material, the traffic, safety, light, noise, all of those things, air. Skaters, yeah, now skaters. The list seems to continue to grow as far as what's in the best interest of the town. And so my comment is really thank you for giving us the ability to express our concerns and listening to our concerns. It's getting tough to rationalize in our minds why this is a good thing for the town as far as this type or the scope of this. But, thank you for listening, and, we're counting on you to take our concerns into consideration because you made a comment, and I think it's a hopeful comment that, nothing has been approved yet. Everything's being taken into consideration, so thank you for letting us.
Haven't received one waiver or variance yet.
Yeah, so thank you for listening to us, and, I'm sure you'll continue hearing from us.
Listen, there's some other things I listen to, too. We obviously, over the course of months, we've got a ton of emails. And, one of the emails that hit me this week was that, when all this was approved by the town, that went through the planning board, went through the Concom, went through the town council, the project wasn't exactly as it's proposed today. I realize now that they were proposing 3-story buildings, and they had an extra one in there. When we asked about the parking, they took one building out, added floors to the other, so it made it higher. So, yeah, you're right. I don't know if the council had to vote it over again, if they would vote it.
Right.
I don't know if the planning board would vote it, but I mean, they did make reference that they voted an approval for, 5 3-story buildings, which isn't the case right now. But that's how these things evolve. I mean, even when we're through with this, even if they were to get some sort of an approval, it's not really the final thing, because it's just more or less like a conceptual plan of what they're gonna do. Then they gotta come and give us all the plans that meet all the regulations of the town and DPW and the engineering department and all that stuff too. But they gotta start somewhere. They're the ones that instigated it. They're the ones that gave us the money, that put up the money for the application. And we're just going through the process now as best we can.
Absolutely.
And we know it's not easy, because I've been here a long time, been through a lot of these, and, there was some things that came up at the very get-go of the meetings, but, it didn't work out that way. So we're where we are at now.
Well,
which is, we're not any closer than we were March 27th when we had the first hearing, or May 8th, whatever one you count as the first hearing.
Well, I appreciate those comments. That's exactly where we're at, is that, you're taking all these things into consideration. We're not, at any kind of final stage.
We got a lot of people working in the background.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Concom's got people working in the background. We got people working in the background.
So thank you for that, and thank you for listening to us. And, you'll probably keep seeing us as things develop, but thank you for that.
I wouldn't expect it any other way.
Yeah, good, okay.
Believe me, though, we had another one of these, 330 units. We never had anybody come. I mean, we did it mostly remote, but we didn't even get anybody tune in. They didn't care.
And that was sort of the point I started with is, we're a butter, so yeah, I'm an abutter. There's no doubt about it. But I feel like we're trying to represent the citizens of Franklin as well, and what Franklin thinks it needs, and the persona of Franklin, and the characteristics of Franklin, and so forth. And so we're trying to balance, and I know that's what you're balancing too, so appreciate it.
We're gonna move on now.
Yep.
We're gonna get going. Who's next?
Hi there, my name is Sarah Cronin. I live at 46 Northern Spy Road. I've spoken to you in the past. I think I've told the story before about living in Chestnut Ridge condos, saving up money for 7 years, and then
I point that
eventually...
story out to a lot of people.
Oh, good.
It makes a lot of sense.
Good. Well, so that's really my resounding theme, is I would highly recommend that we look at putting condos in there.
You're talking to the wrong people.
I know. But I'll just say that I came here specifically today because I was concerned about the traffic study and the mitigation, and I was really looking forward to hearing what solutions were offered. Unfortunately, I'm dissatisfied with the bicycle push. Sorry, going down to my notes. So the gentleman who spoke on the screen talked about encouraging biking and changing the light timing as two of the mitigation things for traffic. And I think I would just say, like, number one, we're in New England, so bicycles, as far as like getting a bike from here to the train from like November until March, it's very unlikely that people are going to be biking. So it's very nice to talk about walkability and sidewalks and things like that, but these apartments are not even close to the train. So I
Don't forget the GATRA bus.
Yes, yes. So yeah, I was hoping for more of a traffic mitigation. I think we come down to the fact that 140 is a state road. We cannot really do much to improve it or make it better, as confirmed by what I heard here tonight. And so, based on what everyone else has said and things that I've said in the past, I just don't think this should go through. So I'm happy to hear that you are taking lots of things into consideration and that we are in a process and it's not over. But I just wanted to let you know I'm still here.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hello, my name's Abby Cronin. I live at 46 Northern Spy Road. My mother inspired me to come and speak today because of her and my father's success in Franklin. I'm a recent graduate from Franklin High School, and I voted in my first election this fall. I would like to voice my concern about the size of this project, specifically the impact to the traffic. This is more personal to me, but there are many teenagers in Cook's Farms. My brother, for example, just got his license, and making a left out of our neighborhood grows increasingly dangerous as the traffic problems gets worse. I would also like to note the environmental impact to the wetlands. It seems unfair and unusual to grant 30 variances for this project, and overall, I don't think this project will be good for the town and our local environment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark Minichelli, 31 Longfellow Drive.
Was the woman behind you? She was standing. Did you want to speak? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'll have to pull this down. My name is Lisa Busella. I live at 5 Village Way, and I'd like to speak about the also the biking that you just mentioned. This is not a bikeable road. We have so many little shops and entrances and exits. It's really not feasible. I try to walk along here sometimes, and it isn't easy either. We've just had a couple of accidents over here in Rentham, the neighborhood that comes out. It's got houses and it's got senior citizen housing, and there have been several accidents there. It's a very difficult road to come in and out of. I think in the traffic study, if you're looking at the traffic lights, I will beg the commission to look at the intersections between the lights. The one specifically that I have the most concern about is the one where going west, you would take a left into the Taj. Okay, there's a left turn lane. You've got cars whizzing by here on the right, and you've got this car that's being polite to the cars coming out of the Taj and saying, oh, come left, or go. And yet you've got a car going right down here without even realizing that. I think that's going to be a very big issue. as well. I think that people will learn that that's a difficult exit to come out of, and they're going to go through the big Y parking lot and come out at the light. And I've also seen 2 accidents in the big Y parking lot where a shopper was hit coming out of Big Y because you've got so many cars coming in and out of there. And that is going to be a huge impact. So we've got many, many other intersections besides the big lights. I find it difficult to believe that you can coordinate the lights when you've got stoppages along the way, right? You've got neighborhoods, Glen Meadow, you've got Chestnut Ridge, and people are stopping, letting people go. So that is going to impact the flow of the traffic lights.
They wanted to put a light in at the Taj, but the state wouldn't let them.
Well, they don't have it, and
No, they don't have it because the state wouldn't let them put it in.
another reason not to have more traffic added to this. It's very difficult to take a left out of our neighborhood. It's a very different place since these new apartments have gone in, so, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Susan Rappa, 40 Redgate Lane. Good evening.
Make sure you speak into the microphone.
Sure. Thank you for showing us the grade levels on the screen. It really doesn't change the fact that the 4 stories are from here to maybe right there, from the abutters' homes. We all know that due to this project, a lot of trust, due to this project and some other items that have occurred in the town, that trust in the town has been broken between the residents and the town officials. This mega apartment complex proposal is one great example of why. There have been thousands of Franklin residents who spoke out and signed a petition against this proposal, but instead, town officials are doing exactly the opposite of what we're asking. You're continuing to approve this mega apartment complex. It's been approved, it keeps moving forward, with no home ownership opportunities in a condensed area of town that will sit on top of single-family homes. It's requesting 30 waivers of town bylaws for this project just to move forward. Why is that? The override didn't pass. Our public services and schools are spread unbelievably thin, and every family in this town has felt it. Not enough teachers, longer wait times for emergency services, the list goes on. However, town officials thought it was a good idea to add in 1,000+ more residents who will further strain these services, but not pay taxes. Why? I understand that the economic impact cannot be considered. However, we as Franklin residents all know it will have a huge impact. How can this design even be reviewed and considered by the ZBA tonight? When this proposal went through the planning board and the town council, the developer agreed to change 2 of the buildings that are on top of the single-family homes property lines to 3 floors. And that change was part of this project and was then approved by some of the other councils and has moved forward. Here is a copy of the design of the 3 stories from just months ago. How can you honestly say that 3- and 4-story buildings on top of a single-family home that's already in an overly populated area fits in with the surrounding area? Just as we talked about the Queen Street project earlier, people are jumping through hoops to make an addition of 3 feet, yet the town is allowing double the size of Big Y's parking lot for parking. It just doesn't make sense. The fact that the developer made this switch by shifting all of the buildings to 4 stories in this latest design to accommodate the ZBA's parking concerns and failed to keep the 3 stories nearest the property lines, which is already on top of single-family homes, does not make sense to us. Please, please, hear what the thousands of people in Franklin are saying. Franklin residents do not want this mega complex. Thank you.
Thank you. You want to say something coming out of schools? Mark, go ahead. Well, you were up before. Okay, thank you.
Mark Minichelli, 31 Longfellow Drive. I happen to be not an abutter. and I will probably be in the great minority tonight, and somebody who is supportive of this project. I happen to be the chair of an organization that we call Ben for Franklin. It's a local affordable housing group. And one of the reasons why I'm supportive of this project has to do with the community survey that we all had the chance to participate in earlier this year. One of the questions on that community survey happened to be dealing with the design of the residential areas of this community. And the lowest rated response on that survey was the positivity around affordable housing opportunities in Franklin. It's an area that we definitely need to improve. We have a metric that the state uses called the Subsidized Housing Index, which mandates around a 10% level. Franklin has already met and exceeded that level. But what most people don't know is that that metric takes into account, let's say this project gets approved and it's 264 units. 1/4 of those units affordable is 66 units. The state will allow us to count all 264 units as affordable. So we really don't have 10% of affordable units in the town of Franklin. So I'm in favor of this. I'm not sure that the abutters have really thought. I understand what it's like, and I understand, I've been in the abutter to projects like this before. But I hope they take into consideration that if this project isn't approved, there are future opportunities that are for people to come in, and it doesn't have to be a residential building. It could be a light commercial building that could be in your backyard. I'm not sure that's any better to look at than some of the nice looking project buildings that this project manager is proposing. Excuse me? So adding 66 affordable units would help make Franklin more affordable to young families and singles who would otherwise not be able to start living here in Franklin. I was impressed today that the project manager is actually responding to some of the abutters and citizen requests and concerns. The traffic studies that are ongoing give some options for, I think, some decent solutions. It's not up to this developer to fix all of the traffic issues that we have on Route 140. I agree, it's a real issue. But I think that the project manager is making good steps to show in good faith some of the options that they can consider to mitigate any additional traffic issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Yeah, how come nobody clapped for Mark? Thank you.
Steve Huston, 10 Wampanoag Drive. Last meeting I came and kind of got a little hot with you guys that this was still in process. You urged me to be patient, work the process, and you were right, and appreciate that. Yes, I have a different request today. I think a lot of problems keep coming up, more and more issues. I'm maybe a little pie in the sky, but I'm wondering if the applicant would kind of read the room and go find a better place to build this.
Would you? Let me just rewind this. Okay, go ahead.
Good evening. Renee Love, 39 Redgate Lane. So I'm going to read the letter that I sent actually earlier in part. As you're all well aware, residents all over the town of Franklin strongly oppose this proposed project. We've repeatedly shared our concerns both by email and by speaking at town council and zoning board meetings. As such, we're sure you have a pretty good handle on community concerns at this point in the process. However, that being said, we believe certain specific points still warrant further consideration. To begin with, we believe it's important to restate that this project, in its current size, in terms of footprint, building height, and the large number of rental units, does not align with the character of the neighboring residential areas. This project moves the surrounding land from a large, unimposing nursery to multiple four-story buildings only feet away from longtime single-family residences. The potential negative impact to neighborhood character, property values, and overall quality of life should not be minimized. Secondly, Tag Central LLC has repeatedly refused to consider a project that is smaller in scale. A meaningful reduction in footprint, both in terms of square footage and in building height, would likely make this project much more palatable to nearby residents and the community as a whole. We also wonder if a smaller project could potentially reduce the need for some of the requested waivers. This should not be an all-or-nothing deal. If our town is willing to allow waivers of our bylaws, then it should only do so to support a project more in line with community needs, concerns, and neighborhood character. In its current state, the proposed project does not do so. Thirdly, as you know, before this proposal ever reached your hands, it went through the Town of Franklin's Local Initiative Program. This process included 2 planning board meetings, and before the matter received planning board support, the developer made concessions at the board's request to reduce the building heights from 4 stories to 3 stories as respects the 2 buildings closest to Cook's Farm. That was the comment that you were talking about before. When the council voted to support the project, the proposed building plans showed these 2 buildings would be no higher than 3 stories. Their vote in support of the project was based on a footprint that looks much different than what the developer is now proposing. In an effort to address the parking space issue that was raised by the zoning board, the developer revised the proposed site plan by removing one of the 3-story buildings and increasing the other to 4 stories, but with an even larger footprint. It appears they did so to ensure that the overall project size remained at the 264 rental units. The 2 3-story buildings were problematic enough for us, but now a towering 4-story building just feet from our homes is once again being proposed. So finally, my last point was going to be regarding the buffers, because we had not seen any kind of specifics on the buffers and our concerns about that. But the one comment that I do want to make with that is that at the time, during the neighborhood meetings and during the town council meetings, those buffers were promised to us when we had the 2 3 buildings. So the explanation tonight that since we went to 1 4-story building, that we could add all of this additional buffer doesn't really fly for us, because back when we were having the discussion about 2 3-story buildings, all of that buffer was promised. And, not specifics, but definitely we were given the impression that those buffers would be substantial and that our security and our privacy were going to be addressed. So my last comment, just one last sentence, is that community input should be sought and considered here. If Tag Central LLC is a true community partner, we're sure you would agree that it should be seeking neighborhood input and ensuring our safety and privacy concerns are adequately addressed. And as a town zoning board, we're relying on you to help make sure that we're protected as well. Thank you.
All right, I just wanted to note that at the last hearing for this project, someone had asked if we would consider any impact to the schools. And the chair had said that we can't really consider that as part of our decision process. I've been doing some reading, and I cared about it anyway, as a resident and a ZBA member. Even before we started this process, I reached out to the school committee to ask if they saw an impact from this proposed project or any of the other proposed projects along this stretch of East Central, and had a really good, valuable conversation. It was good to hear that the redistricting process actually helps the schools absorb demographic changes in the students, just because they're co-located, they're bigger, there's more classrooms of a certain grade, and so if we have 50 students spread across 12 grades, there's only a couple per grade. There's really no need to have additional teachers. And so that was great, because I had initially reached out to them and said, I'm not sure we can use this as part of our decision process, but if you see an impact, will you please put out a statement to let people know? And they didn't see an impact for that. So I just wanted to make sure that people were clear that we are considering any type of detriment to the town and really trying to be thoughtful here.
Quick question from the back.
Usually when they build a new school building, they'll do like an enrollment projection of 10 years. Do you know when the last time that was done?
It was actually done as part of the redistricting analysis. I know that because I was on the redistricting advisory committee for, before this current redistricting, the past one. So I knew they had done a demographic analysis, so that's why I even reached out. I said, I know you're looking ahead in your demographic analysis. Did you look through everything that was before the planning board at that time? And this project was one of them.
AJ, who's Peter?
Peter is my father.
You took him up here to put him through this,
Very calm.
Yeah, he's very calm. Get a little, you know, just sitting there, hadn't said a word yet. You don't want to say anything, Peter?
No, I don't.
How did the chairman do tonight? No, me. Anyway, with that being said, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you. My name is Luther White. I live at Russet Hill Road. I'm not an abutter. I'm a business owner in this town as well with 2 businesses, and I just felt I needed to refute a comment that was made from the only person that was supporting this project that came up publicly. And the statement was, this project makes Franklin more affordable. My question is, for who? Not the people of the residents who pay real estate taxes, not the business owners on our water bill. I've watched our excise tax. We've gone through 2 years of requests for increases. I've seen taxes in this town on the business side and the resident side. And due to the increase in services and drain on town resources, existing residents and business owners will be left to subsidize this project. So I would just ask you to just consider the drain on the people here and the voice of the people. This isn't about making it more affordable for people that aren't paying taxes. This is about taking care of the residents and hearing our concerns. So thank you for listening, and I think the candor of this entire meeting has been great, and I appreciate your time and consideration. This project has more legs to go.
Thank you. Casey, anything else to come before the board? I'll entertain a motion to continue this public hearing until August 28th at 7:40. 45.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, none. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Motion made and second for adjournment, non-debatable. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, none. Good night, everyone.
When was it rescheduled to?
August 28th.